everyone. Welcome to episode 585 of the My 123 Cents podcast. I am your host, Kevin Huntsberger, joined once again this week by Chad Smart. And Chad, we're going to do a little Royal Rumble and a little, or maybe a lot of AJ Styles, or maybe a lot of the Rumble. I don't know. We're going to kind of go with the flow here and just conversate about a weekend of wrestling. First of all, though, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, and if this is episode 585, you know what that means. And if we flip it, it's episode 585.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means, but I'm sure the universe has some deep meaning
Yeah.
out there. But yes, anyway, I am doing. Again, we talked about it before, and we're old, so I guess we talk about weather a lot as we get older. It was like 86 degrees yesterday.
Wow.
And I don't know if you're still in the sub-zero Arctic.
Yes. It was 5 degrees this morning. Woke up.
That is insane.
Yes. Tomorrow we're supposed to get above freezing for the first time so in a while, so it'll be nice. There's
Yeah.
still a lot of snow and ice here, so
So you'll be able to go back to work and actually do something.
no, I've been back since Wednesday, so but it was a nice little break, but yeah, it's time to get back into the routine of things and January, February now as we're entering into February is always kind of a uh, January always, for whatever reason, feels like it's about 6 months long. And one of the most anticipated things for me about January is, well, the birth of my oldest child, obviously, first and foremost. But
He's
uh,
not listening to the show.
yes, the other thing I look forward to is the Royal Rumble. And, I remember in '88 watching
Mhm.
the very first incarnation of this on the USA Network. And then, of course, it becomes a pay-per-view. And even though we didn't order it, I don't think I ever ordered it as a kid, or I guess by then I was here, but always somebody would have recorded it and then brought it to school. And, that was back, I guess the kids call that tape trading these days, but that's what we were essentially doing and watching those old shows like that. What were your early memories of the Rumble? Were you watching it regularly or were you waiting for highlights on Superstars or how were you doing that?
No, I think like you, I remember watching the first one because that was on USA. Because that was back in the early war when, because didn't they go up against one of
Bunkhouse Stampede, yeah.
Bunkhouse Stampede pay per view? Yeah, and then I don't think it was until 91, the 91 that we actually watched, not live, but like a day later, like someone had recorded it.
Hmm.
Then we watched it. But yeah, I think the early ones were just if the video store got them in, we'd rent them, but otherwise see highlights on TV.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna kind of set the table, and I don't want to like completely be negative. There's a lot of
So
negativity
let me
about,
ask you this
yeah.
before we get started, because I was thinking about this because I didn't want to come in here and be like, I mean, we've talked about it before. You're the WWE fan. I'm the AEW fan. I didn't want to come in and be like, so tell me why this show didn't suck.
Mhm.
Because, I did not hate watch it. I, like you, enjoy the Rumble. It's probably my favorite show of the year. I wanted to enjoy it. But yes, as we get into it, I have a lot of complaints about the show. But I was thinking there's a podcast that I listen to, Film Review, that before they review the film, they give like their initial rating of a score of 1 to 10. And then they talk about it and see if their rating changes after discussion. So I'm just asking you before we start talking, what would you rate the Rumble after initial viewing?
I would probably give it. Are we doing a number or a letter grade?
Mm, either or. You can give it a lifty 7,
A what?
a number and a letter.
Oh. Okay. I thought you were trying to make a 6-7 joke there.
No.
Um, I would say I would probably give it like a 7.5, a C, mid C, C plus, um, overall.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm hovering between a 4 and a 5. And I mean, I'll explain. And with the caveat,
Caveat?
caveat, that's the word. I did not watch the Sami Zayn Drew McIntyre match. I had to leave and ran an errand during that. So, granted, what I've read about that match, I don't think I missed anything major, but
Mm.
and I missed the beginning of the Rumble, so I did not see Braun Breaker get attacked by Logan Paul.
You're going with Logan, huh?
I've seen the photographic evidence today.
Do you think it's going to ultimately be Logan Paul?
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, but I don't. So here's what I guess I'll just jump into it since we're talking Logan Paul and Braun Breaker. I'll tie it into the vision and one of my I think my biggest complaint with the show is the lack of story, and I think we talked about this last episode or so. The lack of story during the Rumble itself.
Hmm.
So in this Rumble, you have the Vision, which are all in the Rumble, and they said they're going to protect Braun Breaker. Well, he gets taken out early, but then the rest of the Vision comes out without Paul Heyman. I don't believe he came out with any of them, but then Paul comes out with Lesnar. And so I'm like, I guess I'm not understanding where Heyman's loyalty lies.
I don't remember. I thought he did come out with them all, but maybe he
Did
didn't.
he? And
I
maybe he
don't.
did. Maybe I
I really don't
didn't.
remember. So that
It
tells you
doesn't.
how impactful it was. I do remember it wasn't it Logan Paul and or was it Austin Theory and
Bronson
Bronson
Reed.
Reed that came out back to back or pretty close to back to back. So
Yeah, I think so.
I remember they all kind of started filing in around the same time. But I agree with you on the Brock Lesnar thing because to me that feels disjointed. The vision and the original, and I know that plans changed. Seth Rollins got injured, and I don't know what the ultimate plan was.
Mhm.
Was it going to just be the three of them? To me, it just kind of feels like a hodgepodge of guys. And I don't have anything against any of them. I'm not a big Bronson Reed fan, quite honestly, but Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar together too doesn't, as Hulk Hogan would say, stroking his Fu Manchu, that doesn't work for me, brother. I don't understand the connection. Like either go all in with Brock, which I know Brock is part-time, and you want Heyman, I guess, to be a part of the show. So does Brock Lesnar at this point, at this stage, even need Paul Heyman? And what is that relationship all about?
Mhm.
And maybe we're going to find out here on the road to WrestleMania because
Maybe.
I do feel like we left with a lot of questions, more questions than answers, which I get is part of the storytelling process.
Mhm.
But like you said, I do agree with you on the vision and while I don't have a problem with how Braun Breaker got taken out and it was a surprise because I think some people had maybe considered he being a finalist or in the final four
Mhm.
of the Rumble or even potentially winning it. So this was kind of a one of those twists that, and again, I don't know if that was always the plan. If that is Logan Paul, well, I think under the
Mhm.
mask it is Logan Paul, the man that attacked Braun Breaker at the Rumble. But is that who it's going to ultimately end up being? Because I think they floated someone else in the Austin Theory mask there for
Mhm.
a brief period as well to maybe throw people off the scent. I don't
Yeah.
know. Um,
And
but
is
yeah,
it a group of
I
people
don't get
working
that.
together? So
What's that?
is it a group of guys working together? Like Austin Theory comes out one week, Logan Paul,
Yeah.
and that, to keep throwing suspicion
Yeah.
off of, and then they throw Omos out there one week, and everybody's like, Michael Cole be like, I don't know who that is, but
Well, since we've started talking about the men's rumble, let's just
okay,
stick with that
okay.
and stay there. But um, I went back and looked, and I didn't write down, I didn't take notes, but for me, as a WWE fan, as a wrestling fan, as a Royal Rumble fan, since they've added, and it's been much longer than it was not part of the Rumble incentive was that you get the championship match. They called it the main event, but now let's face it, it's the championship match at WrestleMania. Typically, there's a story connected to the person that wins.
Mhm.
Jey Uso last year, even though people complained, oh, they don't do anything different. It's going to be Cena, it's going to be
Yeah,
Cody, it's going to be this person. And then they give us somebody different, and then people shit all over that. So, and that was a story I felt like with
yeah,
Jey. He was the tag team guy. He was the bloodline. Now he's going for it on his own, and I got behind that. And then in the last handful of years, there's always
Mhm.
been some kind of story connected to the Rumble winner. Cody, of course, the last 2 years with the previous 2 years
Mhm.
before last year with finishing the story. With Roman Reigns just kind of coming out and doing it and winning it, I, I'm just meh because he didn't need it. He doesn't need it. He's seemingly, if he wins the championship, which I know when he held the championship, he was kind of part-time then too.
Mhm.
I don't know. That to me is probably the most frustrating part of it as a fan is like we're not building someone, we're not creating, and I will argue that there were pockets in the men's and the women's rumbles where
Mhm.
we got to see a spotlight shown on some superstars that I think 26, 27, 28 are going to have impactful years
Mhm.
down the road, which I did like that. I felt probably a little more encouraged this year than in previous years that they may be cultivating those next crop of superstars.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Obviously, anybody that's been listening to the show knows I'm not a Roman Reigns fan. I wish I would have started the count to see how many Superman punches were thrown in the Rumble because to me, Roman is a two move guy. Superman punch spear, rinse, repeat, you know. So I'm not looking forward to another WrestleMania match. Again, with the story, if he goes after Punk, you have a story there with both of them having had Heyman, going back to Paul, like we were talking earlier, having him be their advocate or tribal chief or whatever he was called um, or the wise man. Roman
Mhm.
was tribal chief, whatever he was called when he was with Punk. But we saw that story last year.
Right.
The rest. So what is new, and also, like you said, Reigns isn't going to be a full time guy. We haven't seen him since November. He didn't even show up to say, I'm going to be in the Rumble. He just sent an email saying,
Mhm.
hey, I'll be there.
Yeah.
And I know he was on, I think it was the Pat McAfee show earlier in the week and complained about how he'd set the table and the new generation or next generation hadn't picked it up. And so I guess that's the story they're telling is he feels like he needs to come back and save WWE. But yeah, I just don't. I think given either Braun Breaker or LA Knight, like I said, these newer guys that the fans want.
Mhm.
And then, the final four was what? Roman, Orton, was it
Logan
Logan?
Paul.
Was Logan Paul still there?
Yeah,
And
Logan Paul. There were three former champions, and now I don't remember who that. Oh, no, not no. Take Logan Paul. No, it was
yeah,
Gunther. It was
Gunther,
Gunther,
yeah, Gunther.
Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, and someone. I
Yeah.
don't
And that,
remember.
yeah, and that was the other thing with Gunther. Granted, he'd had the match with AJ earlier in the night, but how long did he have the sleeper hold on Roman? This move that we've seen put out Cena, put out AJ, and Roman just kind of shakes it off. It's again, that's I'm getting nitpicky there because I don't like Roman. I wasn't a fan of him being the winner, but I just feel like, yeah, there could have been something more. And I didn't want to see Gunther win it either because, again, Gunther's been there. And I know I keep saying Gunther and Gunther interchangeably. Um, but I just feel like this could have been the moment to push some. And yes, if they would have gone with somebody new, fans probably would have complained as well. But you had Obafemi run the gauntlet or the table early on in the match, and he looked good. And I think he will be someone that will be big. Um, but I still think we'll get him and Brock at Mania.
Yeah.
I think that'll be the powerhouse.
What would your reaction have been had Obafemi won it? I think we both agreed last week and even the week before last,
Mhm.
LA Knight was kind of our long shot pick,
Yeah.
our hope at least. At least for me, because somebody had asked me yesterday as I was watching it, or Saturday as I was
Mhm.
watching it, who I wanted to win, and I said LA Knight. Um, but then when Oba got in there and started dominating, and I knew he wasn't going to go to the end, and I knew he wasn't going to
Mhm.
win. I would have liked to have seen him either clear cut, been the most eliminations, which he actually tied with Roman for, or been the Iron Man, which he lost out by like less than a minute to Javon Evans. So while he had an impressive showing, he tied, or you know what I mean? Like he
Mhm.
did, he's not a standalone. And, you know, and maybe the intent was for him to be in there a little longer, or maybe throw some, you know, because again, things
Mhm.
happen in there that you don't really know or can explain. And I think having Brock eliminate him was a mistake, unless they do the match at Mania and Brock puts Obafemi over. But I don't know
Mhm.
that that's going to happen either. But how would you have felt with an NXT call up within the first month of being called up, winning the Royal Rumble and going to WrestleMania? They've never
Um,
done it, so it would be something different for
it would
sure.
be something different, and I think with Oba, you could get away with it
Hmm.
more than say than let's say if it was Ricky Starks or
Mm.
Ethan Page. I think Oba had been presented as this dominant guy. Again, I don't think he should have had the match with Cody on Saturday night's main event.
Right.
Um, that kind of took away some of that aura.
I agree.
Um, but I think fans want to get behind Oba too, so I think it would have been fine. And I'm going to tangent here and now since I just mentioned fans. The Saudi crowd. This is a stadium that we said was built in a month. Hopefully, it's very secure. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Michael Cole said it holds 25,000 people,
Right.
which is very small for.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
that's the I guess average stadium for or arena here in the states. But for the first half of the show, if there were more than 10,000 people in that stadium, they were all sitting behind the camera
Hmm.
because it just looked very empty. And I saw something, I don't know if you saw it, I think I sent it to you on Insta about there was a bunch of stuff outside the venue to do and like little stands set up by WWE. And a lot of fans were out there
Mm.
during the show. And I don't want to go down a political realm, but starting off with the women's match, the way women are
Hmm.
kind of treated,
Yeah. Sure.
do fans stay away if they saw that the women were wrestling?
Right.
Um,
No, that's been a point that was brought up. I've seen it in several circles. So yeah, I mean, I think it's
yeah.
fair to
But
comment.
I just given the crowd and the correct fact that I think the only thing the crowd that I can recall of really cheering for during the Rumbles were LA Knight and Brie Bella. And Brie Bella, it was more for a Daniel Bryan
Right.
response than,
Yeah.
uh, but it just, made me really not look forward to WrestleMania next year.
Are they doing it in that same, I'm assuming in that same building?
I don't, I,
Are they going to build
again,
another one next to
maybe
it?
Bill, no. Again, 25,000 people, you would think they wouldn't do it there, but I don't see people traveling for, Saudi Arabia, WrestleMania like they do
I
in the
saw a
States.
handful of like your usual fans that you see
Yeah.
the at Monday Night Raw or on
Yeah.
pay-per-views that are stateside or PLEs that are stateside. I saw some familiar faces in the crowd, and
I,
I assume they'll travel for Mania as well. But to me, it was kind of weird knowing that, or allegedly knowing, I guess. I saw it online. I'm assuming it's true that the Saudis paid 100 million for the Rumble.
Mhm.
You divide that by 25,000 seats, and not all those seats were filled. That's $4,000 a seat minimum. Which again, I don't know anything about the economy or the politics of Saudi Arabia in that regard. You know, was this more of a um, rich, wealthy person's event to come out to and enjoy,
Yeah.
or because I think did you send me something too about ticket prices and
Ticket
how
prices were like
like
$21 to maybe 100 and something, but
yeah
then they got bought. And on the secondary market, we're going for like 200, which
yeah
again, here in America, we're like, wow, that's cheap.
yeah right
But I
sure.
don't know what the Saudi Arabia economy is. So,
Hmm.
um, and again, I was looking at the crowd too because I'd seen some comments, and it did kind of I'm going to go conspiracy and uh, unsubstantiated rumor here is that it looked like most of the hard cam side were all men. But
Yes.
anytime they wanted to cut away to reaction in the crowd, it was
It
a
was a
woman.
female. Yeah. My
Yeah.
wife
And I,
actually asked about that. She's like, "Are there
yeah.
women there? And how are they dressed?" And I'm like, "Oh, I haven't seen." And then it was, I think, during the women's rumble,
Mm,
a big elimination happened or something, and it was a younger woman and
and a
a girl.
little girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and again, I don't know what the culture, but that again makes me, question why. And again, it's money. I get it. That's why. But when it comes to presentation on screen, that's what's selling it to a bigger audience. I mean, there were criticisms just a couple of weeks ago with TNA showing a lot of empty seats in their
Mhm.
arena. It's like, why would you do that? And then, this arena, and again, I couldn't tell because it looks like there were LED lights on
Yeah.
the seats, which they have here at the Intuit Dome, which is, I guess, where WWE runs shows now. And those also kind of like even if someone's sitting in the seat, the light kind of obscures them. So
Yeah.
you can't tell if there's somebody there or if it's an empty seat.
I will say, and again, I'm not defending, I don't care either
Yeah.
way, but
Yeah.
obviously WWE got paid or TKO
Yeah.
got its check. So, if the place is empty or but it is the optics. And
Yeah.
there were some fans that I've seen on Instagram and TikTok that were like scanning where from where they were sitting. And those seats are occupied with
Cool.
people in them. So it is the optics, which
Yeah.
my dad was here over the weekend and watched too. And he even said it like, are there, what are there
Yeah.
people here or what's going on? So,
Well,
but I also think it's weird that they started at 10 o'clock Saudi time. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, especially for a couple boomers like us,
Right.
we're in our PJs and about ready to go to sleep.
Yeah. I was mentioning that last night to my girlfriend, and she's like, well, what is the temperature like? She's like, because she went to South America for 6 months several years ago. And she's like, when we were in Brazil, you stayed inside all day because it was just hot. Like people didn't go out until 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And so I'm like, well, I guess that is a valid point. And I
Yeah.
just looked it up, and I mean, like right now, as we record this, which is a half hour before the Rumble started on Saturday,
Mhm.
same time, it's 69 degrees.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
So
looked
it's
at that.
not, I don't think it was like, I mean,
Right.
it looks like the highs were in the 80s, which
Yeah.
is not, you know,
Terrible.
awesome, but it's not 115,
Right. 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 It-
So
yeah.
I don't know.
As WWE obviously expands its global footprint and I'm gonna, I obviously money I think is the motivator for just about everything, which I get, and I don't, you know, fault or blame
Mhm.
WWE for that. But I am gonna be a little probably, I don't want to say controversial, but I do also think because if you look back to those early Saudi shows, the women
Mhm.
weren't even allowed to wrestle on them.
Right.
Now they're there and they are obviously dressed in a more conservative look.
Mhm.
Um, but to me, it's a sign of some progress, using WWE and I think other
Mhm.
entertainers have been going to that region of the world as
Yeah.
well and trying to maybe break some stereotypes or break down some barriers. I don't know. And again, I'm not
Yeah,
going
but
to.
they're not breaking down any walls this year with the
No,
Rumble.
they're not, and that is on the list. That just made the list too. Uh, I haven't seen any negative reaction. Of course, I've seen some tweets of obviously doctored up photos of Chris Jericho on a plane saying he was stuck in Canada and he couldn't make it and yada yada yada. And I didn't look, but earlier in the week, Jericho was still on the AEW website
Mhm.
under the superstar profiles or their active roster profile. So I didn't want to check it Saturday before the Rumble because I did want, if he's there, I wanted to be surprised. Were you surprised that Jericho wasn't there?
Yes and no.
Hmm.
Like I said, when we got down into the 20s of the entrance, I kept trying to remember who we hadn't
Ooh,
seen
yeah.
yet to see
Yeah,
how many
because I
people were
think
coming
we
out.
kind of did a little exchange too.
Yeah. And the more I think about it, I'm like, if Jericho shows up, fans expected him at the Netflix anniversary Raw,
Hmm.
and then they expected him at the Rumble.
Yep.
If you really want to make a surprise, you don't put him on a big show,
Yeah.
because no one's going to expect him on a random Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
But um, and so I guess that depends, like what type of reaction do you want people tuning in for the surprise that isn't really a surprise, or do you want it to actually be a surprise?
Yeah.
Um, and I was just watching another YouTube uh, video of people reviewing the Rumble, and they said Jericho, Fozzie's on tour in Europe through the
Mm.
month of February.
Oh.
So, but he does have March and April open.
Mm.
The fact that he's still on the AEW roster page would kind of tell me that he's at least under contract still.
Hmm.
Um, I, I was talking with a friend yesterday. I think I expect him to go to WWE, but I don't. And I think the longer they hold it off to where people maybe just be like, okay, they give up on it, then you bring him in. Might be a
Mm.
better work. I don't know.
Yeah. I won't be. I like Jericho. I've always
Mm-hmm.
liked Jericho. I won't be mad or sad if he stays or go. You know what I mean? Like I've kind of
Mm-hmm.
reached the point of indifference, especially now because part of me was like, okay, he's gonna pop up in the Cena tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And then part of me was like, he'll show up at Raw on Netflix, the anniversary show.
Yeah.
And then I did think, but like you said, it got to the point where I'm like, okay. And then also, if you have a big return like that,
Yeah.
and then he gets dumped out, which again, depending on what they're going to do with him
Yeah.
continuing through, and is this going to be a retirement tour for him as well? Uh, you know, so I wasn't I didn't go online and be like, it's bullshit that Jericho didn't show up. Why wasn't he
Yeah.
here? They've because some people did that after Raw
Yeah.
and blamed WWE and said, and I'm like, WWE is never once. Yeah, they threw out some videos to kind of troll with
Yeah.
the fans, I think, but I no, they did not ever make that formal announcement. So
Yeah.
again, if he comes, he comes. If not, he doesn't. But Powerhouse Hobbs,
I was gonna.
were
Yeah.
you surprised about him?
Not really, because I'd seen it earlier in the week that he was expected to debut at the Rumble. My question for you is, I don't know. Well, are you familiar with Powerhouse Hobbs? I'll get your reaction first.
Familiar with in regards of I know that he exists and he was the trios champion
Mhm.
in AEW and was with Samoa Joe and that kind of thing. Yes. I don't know anything about like I don't know where he was before he came to AEW. No.
Okay. But I mean, have you seen him wrestle? Are you familiar, or do you
And
just know
yeah,
that he's
he's a
he's a,
big beefy, guy that's
he's big, black, and jacked, and
yeah.
made a shirt that white people can't wear, or shouldn't. Um, to me, I was confused why they put up. I mean, I kind of know why they put up,
Right.
his name first, and then it dissolved into his new
Hmm.
WWE name. And I think that was done so that people who were familiar with him knew who was coming out.
Hmm.
But again, this is like you're in a area that I don't know how popular AEW is
Right.
over there. Um, and it's not like you're bringing back a WWE guy, like a Jericho or an Andrade or Rusev even. Like, was that the place to debut him? Or should they have done, maybe, we always complain that they don't do vignettes like they used
Hmm.
to,
Right.
to get the crowd familiar with a new guy coming in.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I think he did fine in the Rumble, but yeah, we'll be curious to see what they do with him going forward.
Yeah, will he go to development? Will he be on NXT?
Mm-hmm.
Will he be on Raw or SmackDown? Um, I thought it was interesting too that his name popped up first as Powerhouse Hobbs, and I had seen that they had copyrighted or got the trademark for Royce Keys. So, um, to me, it was kind of, I think it had the Rumble. And again, I think there were parts of this Rumble that were booked for the Saudi crowd and then parts that were
Mm.
booked for the worldwide crowd. And I think
Yeah.
that may have been one that was booked for the worldwide crowd because the Saudi crowd, like you said, there wasn't a whole lot of reaction to a lot of the men and women who came out,
Mhm.
um, which was kind of surprising. And I think that I've heard that and maybe we talked about it on this podcast, didn't they want Yokozuna
Yeah.
and yeah, that was,
Yokozuna, Ultimate Warrior.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I, yeah, some of the young talent that came out, especially the AAA guys, um,
Well, yeah, I was
I
gonna.
don't feel like the crowd really knew who they were.
Yeah, I was. I I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but El Iguana Man, whatever his name is,
Mystery Iguana.
Mr. Iguana, and La Parca. Were those the only two AAA talents like that are actually mostly in
Oh,
the AAA
that
promotion?
are on AAA.
Yeah,
Yeah, you might be right about that. That
because along with them, along with Ray Phoenix, Penta, Dragon Lee, I think this is the most luchadorian crap,
Mhm.
roster. And it gave me throwbacks to 1990, 96, 95,
97.
97, 97, where, you know, WWF brought in, might have been AAA talent at that time as well. I can't remember
I
who.
don't remember if it was CMLL or AAA, but
Seemed like, but
one
it
of
was
them.
to counter WCW using a lot of the
Yeah.
luchadors. But it was people that no one outside of the area knew, and you knew didn't have a chance.
Right,
Which
right.
again, it goes back into one of the issues with the Rumble. Um, and I get it. WWE owns AAA now; they want to promote it. But again, was this the Rumble to do that for?
Right. Right. No, I agree. And I thought the same thing. Um, I would have gone with Mr. Iguana because I do think I like Mr. Iguana.
Mm.
I think he's very marketable and
Oh
very
yeah.
toy,
Mm-hmm.
toy riff. I forget what the
Terrific
major podcast
merchandising.
calls it, but they call it something. Um, but yeah, his thing, it was throwing back to like Santino, kind of those
Mm-hmm.
comedy spots, which I think in an hour plus long match, you've got 35, 45 a minute. It's fine to do some of that stuff.
Yeah.
La Parca, which to me, I remember Nitro La
La
Parca,
Parca.
and this
Yeah.
guy looked nothing like Nitro La Parca. So I was kind of let down by that, honestly. But and then like you said, Rey Mysterio, Penta, Dragon Lee.
Yeah.
Was there another?
Ray Phoenix.
Was Ray Phoenix in it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, see, I don't even remember him being.
And see, and that was one of the things too, is like Ray Phoenix came out earlier and was eliminated by the time that Penta came in.
Hmm,
And they've been separated since they both joined WWE. To me, this would have been a moment that you put in the Rumble to have them work together, unless you're going to bring them in 1 and 2 and have them fight.
right.
But I don't think anybody would really want to see that. But you have that Lucha Brothers moment on the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Anything else on the men's side?
um, yeah, I'll do one more that'll tie into the women's too.
Okay.
And goes back into storytelling. We had El Grande, and staying with luchadors, we had El
Oh
Grande
yeah.
Americano,
Yeah. Yeah.
who was then immediately followed up with original El Grande Americano, which was fine. I mean, that's something that people have been expecting would happen
Yeah.
when the original was healthy again. One, and I tied into the women's because it was the same thing when Maxine came out, Maxine Dupree, and then immediately Natty came out right after.
Right.
That's, you have two stories going right there that I don't feel like they did anything with in the Rumble. Like with El Grande Americano, obviously they're not going to win, maybe not even get, 1 or 2 eliminations, but have them kind of like trying to show each other up and show
Mhm.
who's the better Grande Americano.
Yeah.
But it's just like, oh, you guys come out and now you're gone.
Hmm.
And then same way with Natty and Maxine, like Natty immediately comes out. Maxine, who's this person who's, one of the most improved, I guess if you want to say, over the last year. She's, trying to make a name
Hmm.
or, prove herself. Doesn't do anything, have her come out, maybe get one or two eliminations, or hold off, put her into a little feud with Nia Jack, show what she has learned,
Hmm.
and then have Natty come out and do whatever you do and eliminate. But it just felt like they were like, well, we have this and we have to get rid of it so that we can move on to
Right.
something else.
Yeah.
So
And since we're with the women now, I liked kind of the callback. It was a different and it was different than, Axe and Smash Demolition. They were the tag team
mm,
champions in 1989 at that first pay-per-view version of the Rumble, the first 30-man Rumble. So Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair start the Rumble off as the former women's tag team
yeah.
champions. And I liked what they did because at least for me, I kept waiting for one of them to turn on the other
Mm,
one. Like when Alexa jumped up on Charlotte's back, I was waiting for Charlotte to kind of
yeah.
chuck her over, but it feels like they're playing more Charlotte as the baby in this and gonna maybe turn Alexa heel. I don't know.
No.
What was your vibe from that?
I, I thought, man, that random draw strikes again of, tag team partners together. It, I don't know. It's something about it just didn't hit me the way I think it was supposed to. And I don't know if it's because I don't see them being a long term team like with Axe and Smash.
Right.
Being an actual tag team
Yeah.
is one thing, but seeing two single stars who have come together that are going to at some point break up and
Yeah.
feud. Um, I mean, I thought it was kind of cute the way that they would, like Alexa went for the sister Abigail and was just like, "Oh, look, I could have,
Yeah.
done it." And Charlotte picked her up and put her on the turnbuckle and was like, "Look, I could have thrown you out." It's cute, but then again, and maybe I'm misremembering, but once people started coming into the, you know, more into the match, I don't remember Charlotte and Alexa really like teaming up to work together to try to eliminate anybody outside of um, Kiana James, who came in third, so they
Right.
had no
Right.
choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so again, it's one of those story things that Sunday morning quarterbacking, I can look and be like, oh, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do
Yeah. Um, I was glad to see Chelsea Green wasn't immediately eliminated, and they had a little fun with her in the ring. I
that?
listen. I think I love Chelsea Green. I find her. I wanted someone again. I was asked, and I was picking Bianca Belair to return and win
Mhm.
to go against Jade Cargill, which seems to be what a natural progression would be. I don't know, but
Yeah.
anyway, since I knew she or when I saw she was, Chelsea Green would have been my second choice, even
Mhm.
in, and especially after the whole Michael Hayes comments, I
I
guess,
was
from
gonna say
Unreal.
you need to watch Unreal. Chelsea
Yeah.
Green's not gonna
So
be
again, I think sometimes they say those things and do those things to kind of throw you off the scent and maybe,
mm,
but I liked how her and I don't know the other woman's name that's not Piper.
Alpha Fire.
Yeah, that kind of helped her a couple times there and made the save. So, um, but
Mhm.
again, I think that she is just the overall entertaining uh, female that they have on that roster, and has the skills to go and
Mhm.
maybe one day main event WrestleMania or not main event, but wrestle for the championship. But
Yeah.
um, again, with the women, the story to me with Liv Morgan winning, and
Mhm.
I had seen some speculation that she was going to win, and I had, like when they got down to like the final 10 or whatever,
Mhm.
I said to my dad, the little the little blonde is going to win this. Because at the end it was three blondes at the end. But again, talking about kind of shining that spotlight,
Yeah.
Sol Ruca, I'd seen a little bit of her. I don't watch, like I
Mhm.
said, NXT a whole lot, and I saw her on Saturday night's main event, but I was impressed. I feel like she was kind of the breakout star of the Women's
Yeah.
Rumble. And I didn't think she was going to win it by any means. But
No.
again, underdog, I need a story. I need something. And with Liv Morgan, she's kind of this conniving little bitch that they've worked with the Judgment Day and kind of, and
Yeah.
then she dumped which one
Raquel.
did she jump out? Roxanne or
Raquel.
Raquel? Okay. Um, so they're planting obviously maybe a seed there as well, but I just felt like, heels winning the Royal Rumble to me kind of I looking back on it, I'm like, I don't know that I like it because it doesn't there's not that story of like determination. And I get that when Liv got hurt and was gone and but they put her right back into Judgment Day and made her heel. So I don't know. I just am not crazy about it 24 hours removed from the Rumble. I don't know. What say you?
I think it'll be interesting to see what happens on Raw because Raquel has a title shot
Mm,
against Stephanie on Raw, which again, why do you set up a title shot for 2 days after a match that gives the winner a title shot?
yeah.
But if I'm booking, Raquel wins the title, and then it becomes Raquel and Liv at Mania because I don't think nothing against Stephanie Vakir talent wise. I
Mhm.
just don't think his story is there with her.
Right.
I don't think the personality has come out.
It hasn't.
Whereas Raquel, Liv, throw Roxanne in the middle, have Raquel and Roxanne turn on Liv because, you know, uh, like you said, Liv went out with injury. They immediately brought in Roxanne,
Hmm.
and Liv could be like, like I came back just to toy with you until I could get my revenge on you, deserting me while I
The
was out.
slow burn. Yeah. That
So, so that story is there to be told.
yeah.
But we'll see what they do.
Yeah, and that's why again, I don't like being negative and I don't like the visceral reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is, like I said, we're less than 24 hours removed as recording this
Mm-hmm.
from the Rumble. So we always say it's a story, it's a continuation, it's 52 weeks a year.
Yeah.
There's not an end to this book. So again, be patient and see where it goes. But and I like that. Conspicuous by his absence, going back to the men for just a second, and I think he's hurt, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Dominic Mysterio. Is Dom hurt? Is that why we haven't
Dom
seen?
is injured, and they did do a video after this that I just saw a while ago before we started recording about Liv calling, FaceTiming him
Oh, okay.
after she won,
Okay.
but yeah, he I don't know what the severity of the injury, but yes, he
Mm.
is
Because he's the
out.
IC champion still, right?
And the mega champion,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
that's
mega
right.
champion. So yeah, I guess with Dom being injured, with so we'll stick with the women real quick. That Brie Bella, I know you were excited. You had your Brie sign ready to go.
I was Brie mode, baby.
Yeah, here. I don't think there were any other major women surprises. Is
No.
there anyone?
Which
Which is,
is a positive, but go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say, I don't, given the roster size that WWE has,
Hmm.
there were some people that were left out that I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
why weren't these? Even on the men's side,
Right.
I think I joked with you. You had Rusev and Cardona,
Hmm.
who, I mean, Cardona just came back.
Right.
Rusev's been there for around 4 or 5 months, but hasn't been on TV lately.
Right.
Couldn't you find someone else who has been on TV to put in those spots, especially if you're just gonna, they're gonna be out in less than 2 minutes?
Yeah. Quick eliminations.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And that's funny that you say that because my dad was like because my dad when I was a kid we watched all the time and now,
Mm-hmm.
as in he doesn't watch unless he's down here. Um although he does, he still has satellite, so he'll be flipping and says, "Yeah, there's something on TNT," and like, "Yeah, it's AEW, it's something
Like, yeah,
different."
you should sit and watch it. It's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
But he's like, they have 30 women that, and I said, actually, now they do. Like back
Mm-hmm.
when this started, they would have to bring in legends or bring in women from other companies. But
Yeah.
I think, like you said, with the exception of Brie Bella, I think the 29 other women were current full-time roster, whether it's NXT or
Mm-hmm.
Raw or SmackDown. I don't think they had any TNA women come out, did they?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So, um, and again, that we had talked about that too, about maybe not having as many surprises, and does that hurt or help the Rumble, or how they strategically place those. But overall, from the story's perspective, I think I liked the women's Rumble better than the men's, and just the way it flowed, and like I said, there was room for improvement on some of those things, but I just felt like it told a better story, even though I wasn't as crazy about the outcome. But now that you've kind of explained, or not explained, but described how you think or see how
Mhm.
it could potentially shake out, and I didn't realize that Vicaire and Roxanne, or I'm sorry,
Raquel.
Raquel have a title match on Monday. So I probably should have been paying more attention to that part of it. But yeah, I you kind of changed my perspective of it. So with that little wrinkle.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would go with you that I think the women's match, if I had to go back and watch one of them again, I would probably choose the women's, just for me a more satisfying ending
Mhm.
and more, I guess, just a more entertaining. Because one note that I wrote down that I was going to ask you is, one of the things that I think makes a Rumble seem either maybe better than it is, or even, good to begin with, is something memorable happening.
Right,
A year from now, if I said, "Hey, what was your favorite part of the 2026 Royal Rumble matches?"
right,
What are you going to say? What's going to, and granted, you and I joke about how we can't remember what happened last week
right.
on television, much less last year's Royal Rumble. But there's just, other than I guess the negative of the winner, and Jey Uso running it back 500 times during the match. Um,
That was
Again,
annoying.
yeah,
I was with you on that
that's
one.
not for you and I. Yeah, you
Yeah,
and me.
no,
That's
it's not. It is not.
But yeah, there was just nothing that I can really look back and be like, oh, that was a great. I mean, Chelsea Green, being uneliminated
Yeah.
was cool. So Ruka, I think, again, along with her Saturday night's main event match, kind of a breakthrough performance, one to watch. But other than that, there's, you know, Obafemi, I mean, is fine. But again, we've seen that with Kane, we've seen that with Diesel. It's what you would expect from a big guy. I
Right.
think
And
maybe,
they didn't put an exclamation point on it for
yeah,
me.
yeah.
What I'll probably remember is the attack of Braun Breaker before the show, or before the match really started,
Mm-hmm.
and then him being like quickly eliminated um, on the men's side, and then the women, like you said, Chelsea Green's non-eliminations, and probably the little cutesy stuff at the beginning with Charlotte and Alexa. But
Yeah.
overall, and again, I kept looking for that feel good moment, and I think I even messaged you at one point, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, a heel female wins the women's rumble, which we don't know where that's headed. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm gonna give that one back a little bit. We're gonna save AJ and Gunther for last.
Yeah.
But then the championship match,
Mm-hmm.
Sami Zayn, which again, WWE has done a good job in the last several years, maybe, or handful of
Mm-hmm.
years, of making you, even though you know how it's going to end, thinking maybe it's not going to end. They did it with Gunther and Cena, in my opinion. They did it with Sammy and Drew McIntyre. Um, I thought maybe he's going to pull this off and win, but then. And speaking of Drew, I do like his little dastardly trick with Cody as well. That was an unexpected surprise
Mm.
elimination, I thought.
Yeah. I had to think about it because, as I mentioned to you during the Saturday night's main event match, when Drew interfered, it's like Drew has beat Cody. Drew should move on.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, why is he coming out? And then I realized, like, okay, well, he doesn't want Cody to win because that's the only way Cody can get another title shot,
Yeah,
allegedly. I
yeah,
mean, I expect now Cody to win the Elimination Chamber and
yeah.
get the title match. So Drew coming out and helping eliminate him makes sense. Although I
Mhm.
still think if you're not in the match, you shouldn't be allowed to eliminate someone. But
Right. Yeah.
That's a long-standing tradition. So
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. The good old days. But I agree with you on that. But you didn't see the match.
mm,
Were you surprised? Did you think Sammy had a snowball's chance in hell of winning?
no.
Will he don a lucha mask? Could he have donned, could El Generico have come in
Mm.
with all the other luchadors we had and won the
Could have. He
Rumble?
could have. And I think, the speculation is next year, Sammy will win at WrestleMania, get that WrestleMania feel good moment in
Hmm,
Saudi. Um, I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens in the next year.
right.
So I just, I've seen some comments lately about Sammy just being like kind of a rinse repeat cycle of,
Hmm.
you know, the character needs to expand a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Well, I want, we're almost an hour into this. I
yeah.
want to do a proper AJ Styles show maybe in the next couple of weeks once we see how this shakes out. But I ran a very non-scientific poll on TikTok and said, is AJ going to be retired at the Royal Rumble? And 60-40, 60% said no, he was not going to. In my heart of hearts, I knew he was going to lose. Just going back and reflecting on the last year of AJ, the banger he had with Shinsuke on Saturday Night's main event, the match he had with John Cena, the stuff they did with him in Japan. Um, he had a match with Punk. So I felt like this was the end, and I don't want to come off sounding xenophobic or you know, I would have liked to have seen AJ here in front of fans that you know his hometown, Atlanta. I think there was a show coming up soon in Atlanta. Like, could it have ended here with the crowd and his family? I don't know. Maybe his family was at the Rumble, but they didn't show any of that. So,
No.
we saw Cena's parents and we saw Goldberg's son, and for their last matches. So, and this is one that I truly think Gunther can be called the career killer for, because as I mentioned the last week or whatever it was, Goldberg and Cena had already announced that they were retiring, and
Yeah.
Gunther really was just the opponent, but he really did truly retire AJ. But then I felt like maybe, because was the stip that he retires from WWE or was the stip that he retires? And I can't recall, but he went to take the gloves off and then he stopped. So do we get him in TNA? Because they were dropping some hints at TNA on AMC that debut.
I I can't see him in TNA. And I know that's where,
Right.
he's helped build that company, but when he was there for their premiere on AMC, maybe it was good acting, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it just felt like he did not want to be there.
Hmm.
And while there is some good talent in TNA, I don't see that as the place for AJ to go. And this is the mark in me is going to be like go back to or not back to, but go to AEW where you have history with the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page. Get those matches over the next year, and then maybe he retires for good or for longer stretches of time. But I will be at Revolution on March 15th. I would love to see a phenomenal AEW show.
So I mean, I thought you were kidding earlier, but you sound serious. Do you think there's
Yeah.
even a remote possibility that he does that?
I don't know. I mean, I tried texting him to see what his plans were, but he didn't return my calls or texts. But I don't know because I don't know if this is a. I mean, obviously, based on the matches that he's had, he still can go.
Hmm.
Now, how does he feel the next day?
Right.
Well, I don't. I can't answer that. But I think if he wanted to go out on his terms and have those last matches with guys that he has history with, and Jerry Lynn is in he's a backstage agent for AEW. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I do kind of hope that I'd rather AJ show up in TNA than Jericho stay in AEW than Jericho show up in AEW.
Oh.
If I had a choice, if I could only have one.
It- I think he's done. I don't know though. I
I mean, the
just the
fact
way
that
they
like
were.
he was taking off the gloves and then put them back on, and I do think that he specifically said, "I will be done in WWE."
Right. And I think had he not done the trick with the gloves, I don't know that he would have done that as a tease to go to AEW. I don't know. Maybe maybe it was called in the ring and it was an impromptu thing.
Yeah.
Uh, I would be almost as surprised as Cody Rhodes showing up in WWE because when he came to WWE from AEW, I thought there's no way in hell. I would almost be as that surprised because, but again, then you see these trolls and you see people online, and I guess Ricochet was weighing in and kind of calling AJ out. And is
Yeah.
that just Ricochet being Ricochet, or
Yeah.
is he trying to plant some kind of uh, seed as well? So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you have the match. You know, I think it's Ricochet just being Ricochet, but also, hey, if he comes, then you've got something already
yeah.
in the works. But
Hmm.
and again, I don't know a lot of AJ's stuff from Japan, and now that the Bullet Club, I guess, is done finally in Japan. Um, there is no Bullet Club for AJ to go back to,
Hmm.
but um, I don't know. I guess we'll see in the next coming weeks on being the elite if they start teasing hints of AJ coming in.
And let me ask you that,
Yeah.
because WWE has obviously, I don't know if troll is the right word, but it's gotten people stirred up enough that they think Jericho's coming in.
Mhm.
Jericho is a former WWE talent, so it makes sense for them to do that. Would AEW, even if they don't have any intention, tease that so then people start tuning in to Dynamite? Like if it's clear that AJ is not going to be the NXT general manager, like I kind of
Yeah.
joked that the other day, does it become a thing where um, if AJ's laying low for a while and they start teasing, not saying he's coming, but
Mhm.
making phenomenal comments or those kinds of things, or if he shows up on TNA next week, then I guess it's a moot point. But
But yeah. Uh, I don't think I don't, or AEW, I don't think, unless you can very well say this is definitely a troll
hmm
situation. I don't think they would plant, like, I don't think Tony Schiavone or Taz or anybody would start saying phenomenal or, you know, saying, no, what style, this guy has, whatever commentary you can think
yeah.
of to imply. And the fact that the Young Bucks are now back to being faces, I don't think they would troll it on their show on being the elite, um, unless something is that, because I think one of the positives that I can give AEW over the last year is they've again taken their eyes off of whatever WWE is doing seemingly and focused more on
hmm
their own company. And
yeah.
so, yeah,
Interesting.
but yeah.
Well, and once we see what happens with AJ, because I don't know that I'm entirely ready to do thank you AJ podcast, even though I did a video the other or yesterday based on some old pictures and stuff. But we'll talk more about AJ Styles because I do think there's a bigger story there, and we'll see in the next couple weeks what happens. Anything else about the Rumble? Were you okay with Punk not defending and the tag team tie? There were obviously some pieces missing that you would typically see at a Royal Rumble. We talked about Dom. He's obviously
Yeah.
hurt. But Punk not wrestling, but being a part of the show, I thought was good. I liked seeing him on the pre-show stuff. But
Mhm.
you know, What are your thoughts? Because again, the talent pool is so deep now, and you really are only doing 30 men and 30 women.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Well,
see the Rumble expand to 50 or 60.
no. And I think, we've always talked about the Rumble title, whatever title match happens at the Rumble is mostly a throwaway title match,
Hmm.
you know. So I don't, and we had Drew and Sammy. So I don't think we needed Punk to have a title defense. My question to you is you watched on the ESPN app, right?
I did.
Did they do commercials during the Rumble or any of the matches?
During the matches, no, there were
Okay.
not. They did them after the matches. So,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
I
Because I,
texted you and said, I wonder if they're going to break away because did they break away during any of the matches for you?
not that I, no, no.
Yeah,
So yeah. And I mean, hopefully I mean, with the Rumble being what it is, you don't want to break away and miss
right.
people coming in.
Yeah,
You can schedule the eliminations, but
yeah.
people coming in. But no, I actually I used a VPN to say that I was in Canada, and after like entry 21, I think that screen popped up said that you're using a VPN. Turn it off to continue watching, and I'm like, well, I can't turn it off to continue watching, but I had to switch from my tablet to my computer to finish watching the show, and so that was a slight hiccup. But no, the VPN worked well though.
I will say on ESPN, and we were in it was the men's Rumble match.
Mm-hmm.
It popped up and said, "You've been watching for I don't know when I turned it on.
Yeah.
You want to continue?" And it gives you 30 seconds to respond, or then I don't know if it then turns it off or what. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm watching a freaking live event. Of course I want to keep watching. So,
Yeah, I get that a lot
but
on
besides that,
AEW pay-per-views
oh, really?
because when you're into the seventh hour of a show, they're like, "Are you still watching?" Yes.
Are you really
So,
watching them? All right,
so
friends. Well, thank
yeah.
you for checking us out this week, Chad. Something else you got on your mind, or
I would just say, to follow up on the start of the conversation, after we've discussed, where do you rate the Rumble show?
I think I'm still at a 7.5 ish. I looking at the women's match with a different lens now, or the outcome of the women's match with a different lens. My perspective has changed on that. Um, so yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I'm still between 4 and 5. Like I said, I don't think there was anything bad. And actually, I maybe a 5 because I do think the AJ Gunther match was really good. And
Yeah.
even though AJ didn't smile when he retired, so that was kind of lame. But no, I just don't think there was anything memorable outside of the Gunther AJ match
Hmm. Yeah.
that would make me want to come back. I mean, again, this wasn't as bad as '97. It wasn't as bad as '99. We didn't have multiple entries, Chad Gable and then El Grande Americano or Bo Dallas and Uncle Howdy coming in. So better than '98 too. So yeah, I guess what I'm basically saying is the late '90s Royal Rumbles weren't that good.
Yeah. That may be true. That may be true,
and
friends.
and Cody didn't win, so that's a plus.
That's your plus. Well, we want to hear your thoughts. Let us know what you thought of the 2026 Royal Rumble. Weigh in the comment section, and be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for listening and or watching, and we will see you next time.